Stop thinking for just 1 second. Did you just think about not thinking? Congratulations, you just experienced the most impossible thing in the universe. Your brain, this wrinkled, soggy walnut sitting in your skull, somehow just observed itself thinking about not thinking. A collection of atoms just became aware of its own awareness. If that doesn't give you chills, you're not paying attention. Here's the terrifying truth. Science can explain black holes, quantum mechanics, and how the universe began, but it cannot explain why there's a you experiencing any of this right now. Welcome to the most dangerous question in science. One that's shattered the minds of philosophers, driven scientists to madness, and might just be the key to understanding reality itself. I'm about to show you something that will make you question everything you think you know about yourself. By the end of this video, you'll realize that the voice in your head reading these words right now might not even be who you think you are. See, every other mystery in science has a solution. Cancer, we're cracking the code. Climate change, we understand the mechanisms. The origin of life, we're getting there. But consciousness is different. It's the one mystery that gets weirder the more we learn about it. Right now, as you watch this, you're having an experience that shouldn't exist. You're not just processing visual information like a camera, you're feeling what it's like to see. You're not just hearing sounds like a microphone, you're experiencing the richness of audio. There's something it's like to be you. And science has no idea how that's possible. But here's the thing. We're living in the golden age of consciousness research. Scientists are finally starting to crack the code, and what they're discovering is going to blow your mind. The consciousness puzzle. Let me start with something that'll blow your mind. Right now, you're having what philosophers call qualia, the subjective, felt experience of being you. The redness of red, the pain of a pinprick, the taste of chocolate. But here's the kicker. We can't explain why these experiences exist at all. Think about it. Your smartphone processes information, responds to inputs, even recognizes faces, but it doesn't feel anything. It's not wondering about its existence while scrolling through TikTok. So what makes biological brains special? This is what philosopher David Chalmers calls the hard problem of consciousness. We can explain how the brain processes information, how it responds to stimuli, how it controls behavior, but explaining why there's something it's like to be conscious, that's where things get really weird. The evolutionary story, but let's start from the beginning. How did consciousness evolve? Because here's the thing, like consciousness didn't just pop into existence with humans. It's been brewing for hundreds of millions of years. Picture this. You're a simple organism floating in primordial soup 600 million years ago. You don't have eyes, ears, or even a brain, but you do have something crucial. Basic sensory cells that can detect light, chemicals, and touch. This is where it all begins. These early creatures developed what we call sentience, the ability to sense and respond to their environment. A bacterium swimming toward nutrients isn't conscious in the way you are, but it's processing information and making decisions. It's the first spark of what we might call proto-consciousness. Fast forward to 550 million years ago during the Cambrian explosion. Suddenly animals are developing complex sensory organs. Eyes, sophisticated nervous systems, centralized brains. Why? Because consciousness gives you a massive survival advantage. Imagine two ancient fish. One is basically a biological robot responding to stimuli automatically. The other has developed basic awareness. It can model its environment, predict where that predator might strike next, plan an escape route. Which one survives to pass on its genes? This is where consciousness becomes evolution's secret weapon. It's not just about processing information, it's about creating an internal model of the world that allows for flexible, creative responses to new situations. The Neuroscience Revolution. Now here's where things get really fascinating. Modern neuroscience is revealing that consciousness isn't one thing. It's a collection of processes that work together to create your unified experience of being you. Let's break this down with something called the global workspace theory, developed by neuroscientist Giulio Tononi. Think of your brain like a bustling newsroom. Different departments, vision, hearing, memory, emotions, are all working on their own stories. But consciousness is like the editor-in-chief that takes all these separate reports and creates one coherent narrative. Here's a mind-blowing experiment that proves this. Scientists can use techniques like transcranial magnetic stimulation to temporarily knock out specific brain regions. When they target the area responsible for binding visual information together, something incredible happens. You can still see individual features, color, motion, shape, but you can't put them together into a coherent object. It's like seeing the world as an abstract painting instead of recognizable objects. This reveals something profound. Consciousness is constructed. Your brain is constantly taking separate streams of information and weaving them into the seamless experience of reality you're having right now. But here's where it gets even weirder. Neuroscientist Anil Seth has shown that consciousness is essentially a controlled hallucination. Your brain isn't passively receiving reality, it's actively predicting what should be there based on past experience, then checking those predictions against incoming sensory data. Think about it. Right now, you think you're seeing this video clearly, but your eyes are constantly moving, creating a jerky, unstable image. Your brain smooths this out, fills in blind spots, and creates the illusion of a stable visual world. You're not seeing reality, you're seeing your brain's best guess about reality. The consciousness theories. So where exactly does consciousness come from? Scientists have developed several competing theories, and they're all mind-bending in their own way. First up, Integrated Information Theory, or IIT. This theory, developed by Giulio Tononi, suggests that consciousness corresponds to integrated information in a system. The more information a system integrates, the more conscious it becomes. Here's the wild part. According to IIT, consciousness isn't limited to brains. Any system that integrates information could be conscious to some degree. Your smartphone, a photodiode, even a proton could have tiny amounts of consciousness. It's called panpsychism, and it's not as crazy as it sounds. But then there's the global workspace theory, which focuses on how information becomes globally available across the brain. According to this theory, consciousness happens when information from different brain regions gets broadcast to a global workspace, where it can be accessed by multiple cognitive processes simultaneously. Think of it like this. Most of your brain's processing happens unconsciously, in separate, specialized modules. But when information needs to be shared widely, like when you're trying to solve a complex problem, it gets broadcast to this global workspace where different brain regions can access and work with it. That's when you become conscious of it. Then there's attention schema theory proposed by neuroscientist Michael Graziano. This theory suggests that consciousness is essentially the brain's model of its own attention. Just like you have a model of your body's position in space, you have a model of where your attention is focused. Consciousness is that internal model. It's like having a spotlight in a dark room. The spotlight, attention, illuminates different objects, but consciousness is your awareness of where that spotlight is pointing and what it's illuminating. The hard problem. But here's where all these theories hit a wall. They can explain the functions of consciousness, how it integrates information, how it enables flexible behavior, how it allows for complex decision-making. But they can't explain why there's something it's like to be conscious. This is the hard problem of consciousness, and it's kept philosophers and scientists arguing for decades. Why isn't the brain just a sophisticated biological computer processing information without any inner experience? Some scientists, like philosopher Patricia Churchland, argue that the hard problem is a pseudo-problem. She suggests that as we learn more about the brain, the mystery of consciousness will dissolve, just like the mystery of life dissolved once we understood DNA and cellular processes. But others, like philosopher David Chalmers, maintain that consciousness poses a fundamental challenge to our materialistic worldview. Maybe consciousness is a basic feature of reality, like mass or charge. Maybe it can't be reduced to purely physical processes. This has led to some truly wild theories. Some scientists propose that consciousness might be quantum mechanical in nature. The idea is that quantum effects in microtubules within neurons could give rise to conscious experience. It's controversial, but Nobel Prize-winning physicist Roger Penrose has seriously explored this possibility. The levels of consciousness. But here's something that might surprise you. Consciousness is not an on-off switch. It's more like a dimmer with multiple levels and types. At the most basic level, there's what we call minimal consciousness, the simple awareness of sensory experiences. This might be what a fish experiences when it sees a predator, a basic registration of the visual stimulus without complex thought. Then there's access consciousness, when information becomes available for use in reasoning, reporting, and controlling action. This is what happens when you suddenly realize you've been unconsciously humming a song. At the highest level, there's reflective consciousness, the ability to be aware of your own mental states. This is what separates humans from most other animals. You're not just conscious, you're conscious of being conscious. Different animals likely have different levels and types of consciousness. A dolphin probably has rich sensory consciousness and some self-awareness. An octopus might have a completely alien form of consciousness based on its distributed nervous system. A honeybee might have minimal consciousness focused on specific tasks. This raises fascinating questions about artificial intelligence. Current AI systems can process information and even seem to have conversations, but do they have any form of conscious experience? Or are they just sophisticated word-processing machines? The mystery continues. Here's the thing that keeps scientists humble. Despite all our advances in neuroscience, we're still barely scratching the surface of consciousness. We can measure neural activity, map brain networks, and even predict some conscious experiences. But we can't explain why any of this creates the felt experience of being you. Some researchers think we're on the verge of a breakthrough. New techniques like high-density EEG and advanced brain imaging are revealing the neural signatures of consciousness in unprecedented detail. We can now measure something called the perturbational complexity index, basically how much the brain's response to stimulation reflects conscious awareness. Others think consciousness might require a completely new kind of science, one that can bridge the gap between objective, measurable brain states and subjective, felt experience. But here's what we do know. Consciousness is probably the most complex phenomenon in the known universe. It emerges from the interaction of billions of neurons, each one simpler than the calculator on your phone. Yet somehow this creates the rich, vivid experience of being you. Conclusion. So where does consciousness come from? The honest answer is we don't fully know yet, but we're getting closer to understanding this incredible phenomenon that makes you you. What we do know is that consciousness likely evolved gradually over hundreds of millions of years, giving organisms better tools for survival. It emerges from complex information processing in the brain, integrating separate streams of sensory and cognitive information into a unified experience. Whether consciousness is purely physical, quantum mechanical, or something else entirely, it represents one of the deepest mysteries in science. And that mystery isn't just academic. It touches on fundamental questions about what it means to be human, what makes life meaningful, and our place in the universe. The next time you look in the mirror, remember this. You're not just seeing a face. You're witnessing the universe becoming aware of itself through billions of years of evolution. Your consciousness is the cosmos looking back at itself and wondering, how did I get here? And that, my friends, is absolutely incredible. If this video blew your mind like it did mine, smash that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the biggest questions in science. What aspect of consciousness fascinates you most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. Until next time, keep questioning, keep wondering, and remember, the fact that you can even think about consciousness makes you part of the most amazing phenomenon in the known universe.